Hi guys, Dr. Rebecca Harvey here. I'm a psychologist and the owner of Total Wellness Consultants and Heart Warriors, which are both companies dedicated to helping people be their most authentic self and live boldly and courageously in the world as they pursue their goals and dreams, living a life of love and kindness. So I'm here today because I just returned home from work, and several of my sessions today involved helping people manage their anxiety. And oftentimes I'm going over some pretty basic knowledge with people. A lot of it's crossover from some previous video blogs I've done in the past, but maybe not in such a consolidated manner. So I thought I would talk to you today about some ways that you can learn to manage fear, anxiety, and moments of panic. All of those responses are basically kind of known as fear, but we have different names for what we might be feeling in the moment, and it may be to a small or large degree that we feel anxiety, fear, or panic. But in those moments, what is happening is that your mind is kind of being overtaken by your primitive brain. I've talked about that in some previous videos. When that happens, you are no longer able to function appropriately from your prefrontal cortex, and sometimes that logical part of your brain kind of slows down or shuts down. It's during those times that we get a little irrational in our thoughts and often can react in ways that we're not so proud of. Either way, when we get stuck there, we can sometimes get pulled into a feedback loop, and this can cause our anxiety, fear, or panic to last for a very long time. So some tips that you can do. The first thing is that you can try to engage that logical part of your brain and remind yourself that this is a temporary state. What that word temporary means is different for everyone, but that it will come to an end. And sometimes that's a simple enough thing to soothe. Another thing that can be done is that we can engage mindful awareness. And so one way to do this is to tune into the sensation of the pain or the fear or the discomfort or whatever that we're experiencing. Every emotional experience has a physiological sensation. So we want to be able to let go of the thoughts that are contributing to causing the experience and instead tune directly into the experience, the feeling, the physiological sensation that we feel without judgment, just observing it. And that often is enough to calm down our nervous system. When that doesn't work, one thing that's quite simple also is to use breath work to calm that nervous system down. Now, breathing into our chest activates this kind of go time in our nervous system and can send us into a sympathetic state, which is like something that drives anxiety or that kind of go function that we feel when we're in a hurried state. So if we can use our belly breath, breathing in like a Buddha belly, like letting that diaphragm really move as we inhale and exhale, we can often calm down our nervous system that way and switch over into a parasympathetic or more relaxed or at least balanced between sympathetic and parasympathetic states. And this can be something that can help that body to release and relax. Speaking of bodies, another technique would be to use somatic release. Now, again, when we think of what's going on in the moment of anxiety, what's happening is our brain is cueing us that it's go time to run away from something dangerous or fight for our life or something of that nature. And the reality is that's not really what's going on. There's not such a threat. So in that somatic response, what we can do is actually just get up and shake, kick our legs and shake our arms, do some jumping jacks, do some push-ups, do something to release energy, because that's really what our body is pulling for us to do, is release energy. So we can just give into that state, and in doing so, help again to meet the need of our nervous system and then calm it down. One thing that I have clients do quite often is to engage their sensory perception, and in doing so kind of distract themselves. So this is a technique that's very much in line with mindfulness meditation. And so when I teach meditation classes, I speak to this point. But when we can engage ourselves in sensory function, noticing, for instance, what we see, what we hear, smell, taste, touch, these kinds of things draw us into the present moment. And when we're drawn into that present moment and distracted from the physiological experience that's going on with us or the thoughts that are upsetting us, again, this is enough to give us a break. Remembering that 90-second rule, that in 90 seconds, the emotion moves through your body. People find that really hard to believe when I tell them that. But the reality is we are very, very good at grabbing onto that disturbing thought and re-upping that 90 seconds of that emotion again and again, into infinity sometimes, sadly. So lastly, what I would say is something that's distracting is helpful. Really distracting to anything that's not the upsetting factor can be very, very helpful. And one thing that actually distracts you and engages your prefrontal cortex is to do, like simple math or counting by threes or something like that that's engaging that prefrontal cortex, which is kind of being shut down when we're in that heightened state. So these are just some initial ideas, things you can do, things I cover with my clients on the regular to help them learn to be less activated in a moment of fear, stress, or anxiety, and to find that balanced and calm state of mind. Remembering that optimal life is achieving balance between mind, body, and spirit. This is Dr. Rebecca Harvey with Total Wellness Consultants and Heart Warriors. Thanks for listening, and I'll talk to you soon.